Okay, we're now at 10:15. Mr. Carter, do you want to get us started? Good morning. Yes, Councilmember Banks, you're present?
Yes, ma'am, I am here.
Thank you. All right. We have a quorum. So with that, can we have approval of the minutes of the September 9th, 2020 Joint Public Works Transportation meeting?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Giarrusso,
Second.
seconded by Councilmember Banks. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? No. Great, thank you. With that, our next agenda item 4 is an update on complete streets. And we have Bike Easy here to present. Is Dan here, Rob?
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me here today. I think Dan Favor, our executive director, is going to be available, but I'm going to be presenting information to the council.
Great, I know y'all have a presentation. I'm looking at it now. Can we get it up on the screen if that's possible?
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Paul.
All right. Well, I'll just it's not going to be a long presentation. I'm just going to give you the council an overview of some of the outreach and activities that the New Orleans Complete Streets Coalition has been up to. Really an overview of the year 2020 and then where we're at right now. So I believe y'all are going to advance the slide as we go forward. For those who don't know, the New Orleans Complete Streets Coalition is made up of now over 30 local organizations, and it's a mix of different advocacy organizations, cultural institutions, but also neighborhood groups, business associations, some schools and churches as well, that are all committed to making New Orleans streets safer, more accessible for the entire community. Next slide. Just highlighting some of our members. The coalition is led by the local chapter of the American Heart Association, Bike Easy, Girl Trek, and Ride New Orleans. We'd like to, welcome, and we're really grateful for some of our new members, including the New Orleans Regional Black Chamber of Commerce, some other local businesses. Shout out to Omwell Yoga Studio in Gentilly, but some other great organizations such as Lighthouse Louisiana, and a bunch of others. So we can just continue on ahead. Also like to highlight the City of Love for all the great work that they're doing. And Bishop Lester Love is an avid bike rider, has been doing great work in the community with the coalition. We can proceed. And our campaign is centered around a few different rationales for why we want to see complete streets and better mobility throughout the city. Probably utmost is just improve safety and better health outcomes for the community at large through more active transportation and mobility, but also an improved economy, and then dealing with some of our environmental challenges such as stormwater management. And there's great reason for us to be focused on these issues here in New Orleans. I think we know this as especially you all as local leaders, that we have some endemic problems such as, a widespread culture of drunk driving, but then also people simply walking or biking along the road are too often being hit and killed by people driving for various reasons. And that's part of what this movement is all about, trying to make different forms of transportation work better together on the streets of New Orleans. Next slide, please. And these problems don't manifest equitably throughout the city. Most of the crashes that occur throughout the greater New Orleans region. So this slide shows also Jefferson Parish, but it shows you that the majority of these crashes are occurring precisely where low income residents live and work, but especially where they live. So, and it's very unequal. It's the vast majority are taking places directly in these precise same census tracts. Next slide, please. So this is just an image that we like to show to local groups when we're trying to explain what a complete street is and what we're trying to do hand in hand with the city of New Orleans. So this is a shot of Marconi Drive, just alongside City Park in Delgado. And this is what it looked like before. And then the next slide shows what it looked like after the new treatment came in. And this is obviously, we have a lot of different indicators showing the various changes that took place here. But it shows you how going from a street that was completely a blank slate, and honestly, maybe one of the better paved roads even ahead of that. So we have a lot worse roads in worse condition, as you all know. But the street there was no marking even separating car travel lanes, which creates a confusing situation for every driver and every biker on the road. So clearly marked lanes of travel for both people biking and for people driving, bus shelters, place for folks with disabilities to safely get on and off of a bus. And we also like to see, improved stormwater management facilities. And we always like to see nice street trees providing shade for people getting around. So this is the sort of vision that we look for as a coalition. Next slide, please. And a lot of what we do day to day with our different coalition partners is try to reach out to the community, to local groups, individuals, residents, and business owners. So we go door to door with volunteers and different staff and members from our various organizations. A lot of that was disrupted, of course, with the onset of the pandemic. So we were knocking on doors day in, day out in the early part of the year, and that had to hold up. And then we kind of shifted gears to making more calls, but our large multimedia campaign continued to be present throughout the city of New Orleans: billboards, bus wraps, digital ads. All of these are in an effort to educate, make sure people understand what this is all about, this movement for complete streets, centered around this tagline for our campaign, which is more safety and less stress on the streets of New Orleans. Next slide, please. So just some of the reach that we had, and want to make sure that members of the council have a good sense of the sheer amount of residents and businesses that we were able to touch and speak with this year. So altogether, over 2,000 doors, and conversations, literature that we dropped off at local residents throughout the city, made nearly 1,000 calls to local supporters and local businesses. And I hope some of you have begun to see some of the yard signs throughout the city of New Orleans of local residents saying that they want on their streets and their neighborhoods to see these protected bike lanes and other safer, more accessible street infrastructure. And then the last note I would say on this slide is just that we, at the end of the year, began a new petition on our website and through our online communications for folks to say that they want to see these new protected bike lanes and other mobility improvements through the downtown area specifically, so that they could get to jobs, but that they could also, hopefully patronize businesses looking forward to the end of the pandemic, when we know we're going to need a strong resurgence of downtown economic activity. People want more ways to get safely to and from downtown. Next slide, please. And just some numbers from our digital and multimedia campaign. We registered over 24 million digital impressions with nearly 7 million views of our video showing how a protected bike lane works in tandem with cars and people biking. So that's a pretty high number. We're pretty happy with that. And then also we have these billboards and bus wraps that will continue to be seen throughout 2021. Next slide. And one thing we're really proud and excited about is that we have a new partnership with the Regional Black Chamber of Commerce. So this comprises a couple different pieces. We have a distinct and separate digital campaign that we're running with the local chamber, focused on Black owned businesses, business owners, and ways to facilitate and grow Black businesses here in New Orleans, with an understanding of how improved access to safe different ways of travel can lift up local businesses, particularly neighborhood businesses. So that, and then some incentives we have with our coalition, trying to work with local Black businesses to provide discounted bike racks, other sort of incentives to make our local businesses more friendly, accessible to local customers. And then we were really happy to host a webinar to launch this campaign. We were delighted that Mayor Cantrell was able to come in and deliver a great supportive message about making transportation more available and safe for the entire community. And we had great guests and panelists focused on health, but then economic empowerment. So we're excited about everything that we're doing together with the Regional Black Chamber of Commerce. Next slide. And we have a program based around mini grants for local organizations, which I will take this moment to say that we just have now opened, as of today, our second round of mini grant awards. So we have a month-long application process, and if you're listening or watching now, you and your organization should apply at nolacompletestreets.org now through February 12th. So just before Mardi Gras begins, that kick off Mardi Gras weekend for a different sort of Mardi Gras this year. But so get your ideas together, and we can proceed to the next slide. These mini grants are just a great way to bring in residents, local organizations, to focus on their neighborhoods or the area around their business, around their home, or how they travel to and from work, or to wherever they need to go, to highlight issues that they want to see improved. So our great partner Girl Trek did a walking tour and also highlighted some of the new protected bike lanes in Algiers. And then we were able to award almost, I think, 10 awardees in this last round last year. So you can just proceed over the next few slides here. We're able to support NOLA de Angola and their great criminal justice reform program. They normally ride up to and from Angola prison. This last year, they stayed within the city of New Orleans and did a tour of different historical markers and current criminal justice areas. Please proceed to the next couple slides, just sort of walk us through the next sort of slides here. Yeah, so we were able to award NOLA Angola. We did a neighborhood ride through Algiers, Aurora West neighborhood, which was a great day. I know Councilmember Palmer was there that day. So that was a good one. And then a different program that we're really excited, this is going to come to fruition this year. We are able to provide a $20,000 public art grant to local artists to make some nice visible public art to highlight and hopefully activate, bring attention to the Moving New Orleans Protected Bikeway Network that is being built, which we're really, that's the centerpiece of what we're focused on, trying to bring attention and make sure people understand that the city of New Orleans is committed to building out and improving access to more ways to bike and walk safely through the city. So we have some finalists that we're meeting with, some great local artists that have applied and have some great ideas, and we're going to see some great art installed along the. Yeah, go ahead.
So with this one, or are y'all doing it in-house? Are you working with the Arts Council, or are you doing it in-house?
We had, Councilmember Palmer, we had some consultation, and the Arts Council has helped facilitate and help us reach out to local artists, but the coalition itself is managing the process in consultation with partners at the city.
Well, I think the cultural fund that's been set aside for our cultural economy would be a great resource And I would love to see a grant submitted to us from both Bike Easy and the Arts Council, because I think this could be a really great way of making sure that we have an economic impact in our local artists, as well as ensuring that we get art in neighborhoods and communities that have not had access to public art. So I'd love to talk with you a little bit more about that.
Yeah, no, we're excited about it. I think we've been working pretty closely with relevant groups and individuals in the administration at the city who are trying to modernize the city's policy when it comes to public art and facilitating local artists to get more involved and to take a leading role. So I think they're trying to be proactive and be really open to all the, we have such a creative population here in New Orleans. So the more we can bring in people's creativity to the streets, to public space, I think the better off we'll be. So yes, please, let's follow up on that. We're sort of midstream with this, but we really have some great artists that have already been involved in this process. So it's already pretty exciting. Next slide, please. And then I'd like to wrap up with some of the polling research that we were able to facilitate at the end of last summer. So in August of 2020, we worked with a national firm, ALG Research, to do a scientific poll of 500 registered voters. And we have some great results from it. This one, to start off, almost 90%, 87% of New Orleans residents believe the city should provide safe alternatives to driving for residents and people to get to work. So that's almost unanimous. People want to have different mobility options for getting around town. And so that's the centerpiece of what we're trying to speak to as a coalition. Next slide, please. Some more really great positive numbers, particularly for the city's Moving New Orleans transportation plan. We registered 80% support for creating a completely connected network of safe, dedicated bike lanes and trails throughout the city of New Orleans. So people really respond to this. They see it as a benefit to themselves and to their families and to their friends. Also, the second number here, 73% support building protected bike lanes, even when it means reducing a travel lane on some roads that have multiple travel lanes today. And you see the subheading here that 46% of registered voters are very willing to see that trade-off. And we see an almost 20% increase from the previous year, 2019 to 2020, in that number. And again, 87%, and this one at the bottom is focused on the downtown area. So people want to understand that it's hard to get to where people work currently in New Orleans, whether that's downtown, whether that's some other areas around town. If you don't own your own car, if you're not living in just the right location, it's hard to get to work on time for a lot of folks, and they want to see more options. Next slide. And again, I think this is a great polling result that almost 60% of local residents, registered voters, want to see the city do everything it can to get people out of their cars and provide transportation alternatives. So they want you to throw everything at the wall, every possible idea, to give themselves better options here in the city of New Orleans. And just a couple more, 75% want to promote alternatives to driving because they don't think building more roads is the answer. Again, almost 10-point increase, 8 points from 2019 to 2020. I think maybe the pandemic opened people's eyes to the benefits of other different ways of getting around and being active as they get around town. And then another extremely high number, 93%, say that people deserve as many safe transportation options as possible to get to work on time specifically. So this is tied with economic uplift and empowerment. People see transportation and the economy as really linked together. And next slide. I think that wraps up the presentation. So thank you all. And for anyone watching, please do go visit nolacompletestreets.org. We have a lot of information and ways for folks to get involved in the campaign.
Thank you so much, Rob. I got one quick question before I turn it over to my colleagues regarding the O'Keefe area. And that I think we've heard some concerns about how is that project going to integrate with the new links?
Yeah, I can speak to that. And also, I think, Dan will probably join in at some point for various questions that council members may have. Yeah, there he is. Well, Dan, do you want to speak to that question about O'Keefe downtown and working together with the New Links Transit project?
Yeah, absolutely. There's been a lot of great work done by the Regional Planning Commission on the New Links project, and just recently really came into focus that part of the new transit network that they are suggesting will rely on ensuring efficient and rapid passage through downtown. And there's some thought that that could potentially be, a transit only lane on O'Keefe. So O'Keefe is a really key corridor. And then the Moving New Orleans Bikes plan also had a protected bike lane on O'Keefe. And so it was really just, I think, a question of timing. And now that it's sort of clear that that corridor is key for both people on buses and people on bikes, there's good conversation happening between the RTA and the RPC and DPW, as far as I know, in terms of how to make that work all together. I think realistically, the changes proposed by New Links are probably still a little ways out, a year or two until they can actually be implemented. So what we've really been advocating for from Bike Easy is to make sure that we don't make any changes to O'Keefe Street that would preclude the necessary improvements for transit, but still can make some changes now that would ensure safe passage by bicycle. That could be, that would be easily updated in the future for transit when needed. So, for instance, not pouring concrete islands and things like that, but keeping it to paint on the street and some bollards that can be easily moved. And so, from my understanding, it feels like things are the coordination and collaboration is working pretty well there, and there's still just the details need to be worked out.
Great. Council members, do we have any? Oh, you know what? And I do have one other question, and this is more of a rhetorical question. We had a concern with one of the protected bikeways that was installed. I got an email from a constituent over the weekend that they accidentally put like a ballard in front of where there's off-street parking. So when those issues occur, who do they call? Do they call DPW for that? Do they call which department at city?
That's a great question. DPW would be in charge of making that change. And yeah, that just seems like a mistake that needs to be rectified. And so I'm not, I would guess that through 311 is the best way, but I assume that, it's got to be the folks in DPW that would make the change. And so, I think probably working with your office, council member, and reaching out to the relevant folks at DPW, you can get that fixed.
Great, thank you. Council members, do we have any questions or comments? No. Okay, so I'm not hearing any questions or comments. That's good. I think it means everybody is fully on board. I also
I'm sorry, council member. Do you mind if I just add one? Make a brief statement, highlight one issue here. I wanted to, I wasn't able to put this into the presentation. Just over the last month, there have been 4 fatalities in the city of New Orleans and perhaps in Jefferson as well. People biking. There have been 4 fatalities of people biking just in the last month, which is a very high number. It's a decided trend and a very negative one. And, the reasons for it, I'm sure, are complicated. And I don't know. None of us know all of the facts around any of these fatal crashes, but it is a very high and distressing number. And I think it just highlights the importance of the changes that hopefully are about to be seen and felt for the people of our city and in our region. And I just want to thank each of you on the council and to the administration for being supportive of these changes. Because I would tell you in our work, and I think Dan and all of the folks involved in the coalition could say that people really do want to have. They don't want to have the fear and the stress of taking themselves or their families to the park. They want to make it easy and safe and fun to get around town. And I think we're about to see some transformative changes for the better in New Orleans as part of the Move in New Orleans transportation, the bikeway network. And I know you've been a leader on this, but I think all the members of the council have been supportive, and I think we're going to see a lot of great things. But that we have been reminded that it's still serious business out there, and some real changes need to take place.
Rob, thank you so much for bringing that up. And I want the public to know too, that when y'all are looking, and when the administration is looking at which networks to start implementing, I think that it's also based in data. And one of those data points is which areas of the city are accident prone or are experiencing more accidents. And I know y'all have mapped out all over the city where there have been either fatalities or injuries, and which intersections are more dangerous than others, and that they are to have been taken priority. And I do want to thank y'all for that work. And I just want the public to understand that there's a method to your approach. There's a method to this administration's approach. We have seen what they have been implementing in Algiers, and it really has truly been remarkable. And I really do want to publicly thank our mayor for doing that. It's been tremendous to see what kind of impact it can have so quickly. I also want to thank you and BYOB, Let's Bring Your Own Bikes, partnering with us when we did that bike build at Edna Carr in that high school. And that was the first of its kind, which I would like to see replicated all over the city. And what it really focuses on are high school students, and giving them a bike that they are then partnered with a mentor to put the bike together so they know how to fix it if it breaks, but then also it gives them a sense of ownership of the bike. And then y'all came in and gave them safety training. And I think that's a really huge part of when we talk about this, is that we can't just talk about the network. We also have to talk about how we are training bike riders and up and coming bike riders to travel safely and to follow the same laws. And I think I just want to thank y'all for being so comprehensive when we look at that. And I'd love to do this bike build in New Orleans East and hit all of our high schools. And I know we're going to do another one in the spring for Landry Walker. So thank y'all. Okay, do we have any other comments? My council members, I want to thank y'all very much for being here. Next, we are going to have Blue Crew up. There we are. How are you, Mr. Jeff Coates?
I am very well. Thank you so much.
I'm going to turn this over to you. Your second agenda item, or not, well, second, I should not say agenda item, but our second agenda presentation. I know y'all have experienced a lot of ups and downs over the past several years. This has been definitely a labor of love, but I'd like to turn it over to you, because I know we're all very excited about trying to get our blue bikes or similar bikes back on track in our city.
Thanks so much. And I believe we have some slides. So thank you very much for inviting me to be here today. I'm Jeff Coates. I am the CEO of Blue Crew, which is a new nonprofit here in New Orleans, which is committed to bringing equitable, sustainable active bike share back to the city of New Orleans. Next slide, please. I am also previously the general manager for the previous bike share operation. launched the system in December of 2017, ran the system through 2020, at which point Uber decided to sell their ownership to Lime, a company called Lime. Lime decided not to run bike share here. But during that time period, we saw that there was a real embracing by the community of bike share. We had over 680,000 trips during that time, with people pedaling over 1 million miles here in New Orleans. So I think we have a definite case that people embrace bike share and that it's important for the community. Next slide, please. Since the shutdown, conversations of people who are supportive of bike share here in New Orleans. Blue Crew has been incubated and supported by the Greater New Orleans Foundation. We've been supported by Bike Easy, and we've been coordinating with Mayor Cantrell and her Office of Transportation, with Laura Bryan, Dan Jotras, to try and secure the ability to manage and operate bike share here in New Orleans, which is why we're here today to talk about this CEA. We've also been working with all of our previous partners and new ones as well to build long-term support for bike share here in New Orleans. Next slide, please. In looking around the country and trying to determine the best way to ensure sustainability for bike share, as well as equity and local control, we looked at this local nonprofit governance model, and we believe that this is the most appropriate governance structure. Local control will support local priorities. It will also help us to create real jobs and avoid the trend in some areas to move these to sort of gig economy type jobs. And then when we look at the successful nonprofit systems around the country, Nice Rides, Minnesota, Houston Bee Cycle, Healthy Rides up in Pittsburgh, and others, this model appears to be tried and true. Next slide, please. The board of directors of Blue Crew includes Dr. Corey Hebert as the board president. Andy Copland, who is CEO and president of the Greater New Orleans Foundation, is our board treasurer. Dan Favor, the executive director of Bike Easy, is the secretary of the board. Destiny Hammond, who was our original Blue Bikes marketing manager and outreach coordinator, is now the communications manager for North American Bike Share Association, and Destiny is on our board as well. And Emily Barr, who's an urban planner and a biking pedestrian advocate, is also on the board. Next slide, please. As I mentioned earlier, leadership for Blue Crew. I'm acting as CEO of Blue Crew. As I said previously, launched Blue Bikes back in 2017, ran it through the middle of 2020, scaled operations from a startup to 680,000 plus trips and a team of 28 over 2 years. Next slide. So the way that we're framing this return of bike share is around equity, accessibility, and sustainability. Blue Crew and the city are both dedicated to ensuring that bike share remains accessible and equitable as a transportation option for all members of the community. Collaboration is going to be key to this new effort. Without the giant pile of outside money, we're going to have to put together support and collaboration. So Blue Crew, the city, local businesses, the community. So the loss of that outside money, to me, is really both, it's our challenge, but it's also our opportunity to take back control and ensure that this equitable active transportation option is here for the community. Next slide, please. And I generally like to end these presentations with some inspirational photo. And this one might not appear to be inspirational, but it is to me. This is Leo Frazier, our first operations manager at Blue Bikes, in our warehouse when it was only 2 people, he and I, and we had precisely 0 bikes. But within 2 years, we had 66,000 riders taking 680,000 trips and pedaling over 1 million miles. So to me, we've done this before. We can come together as a community and we can do it again. Thank you.
You're on mute, council member.
Some people can hear me on some stuff, not other stuff. Hey, Laura, how are you? Thank you so much for joining us. Y'all, our Director of Transportation, Laura Bryan, is here. Can you talk a little bit about how y'all are including the universities in this and as potential partners?
Is that to me? I assume.
I'd like to field it.
Sure. Depending on the footprint of the area, which is dependent upon of the service area, which is dependent upon the assets and the money that we're able to put together. We've been having a lot of conversations with different universities. So I think we've been talking with Tulane specifically. There's opportunities for sponsorship in terms of this, what I was talking about with the coalition and coming together now that we don't have this venture capital pot of money. We're having conversations about how we can build that coalition, between businesses, institutions, the universities, the city, everybody kind of coming together for this new ownership model.
Great. I know we had mentioned on a previous call about Tulane and Xavier too would be a great partner, just because I think they're the same, almost equidistant to downtown as Tulane is. It would really be it'd be great to be able to connect to them as well. Laura, I know you all have done a tremendous amount of work. Do you want to give us kind of a high-end view of CEA and where we are right now? Because I know we need to on that.
Exactly. Thank you. I was hoping to just jump in after Jeff's great introduction and kind of tell you all where we are from our perspective. So good morning, everyone. My name is Laura Bryan. I'm the director for the Mayor's Office of Transportation. This is really exciting day for us. We are bringing bike share back, and we're partnering with Blue Crew to do it. The mayor is committed to mobility and access. It's been a hallmark of her administration. It started with the Office of Transportation, so we could focus on getting transportation networks and providing people with better access to jobs, groceries, church, school, anywhere they need to go. We've been doing that. We've been building out the bike network. You just heard from the Bike Easy folks about complete streets and the work we're doing to build the bike network out. We've completed at least 15 miles, and we're continuing to work on that project. And now we also have the transit planning project, the New Links project, which is bridging connections for transit. So last spring, early summer, it came as a surprise when Uber Soul jumped to Lime, and we've been working to develop the best solution that we think is in store for New Orleans since then. We've spoken with people from many agencies. Jeff mentioned a bunch of different cities who handle things differently. We've had similar conversations. What we discovered is, honestly, there isn't really one shoe that fits all for bike share. Cities do things differently, and we really think that this is the best solution going forward for New Orleans. This is a partnership with Blue Crew. And having a local nonprofit manage the city's bike share means that our goals, the city's goals, are more strategically aligned. It means the community can be more involved in the decision making and have more oversight in the program. And so Blue Crew, as Jeff explained, is a nonprofit developed from Greater New Orleans Foundation. It's got a board with community members, and they're hiring local folks. That's really important for us. So we're in this as a collaboration and as a partnership. We're going to help them seek grants to support the program and support the continued operations, continued expansion. What's before the council today is the ordinance 33204, which would allow the mayor to sign the CEA that we've been working towards. So there's a couple of points worth highlighting. The agreement's a little bit different because we included a couple different things. We included goals around equity, which hadn't been included in the past. And that means that Blue Crew is going to be focused on coordinating with our Moving New Orleans Bikes project team and ensure that the Bike Equity Index that was created under that program is going to help, guide the site selection for bicycles. We've also included a provision around coverage, which is a little different than in the past. We've always wanted to make sure that residents in New Orleans East can use bike share. And so what we've done is make sure that the planning districts throughout the city that have a significant amount of residents are included specifically in the CEA, so that that goal is noted and that we have that shared goal between the two of us in the spirit of partnership. So we're excited about this. It's a give and take. It means bike share is coming back for residents as soon as we can get it. And we hope that with your support, we can move forward and finalize it. So thank you, council member, and thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. Councilor, do y'all have any questions regarding the CEA? Have we had, everyone's had an opportunity to look at it? I'd like to be able to vote on it if we have a quorum to send it off to the full council. Councilmember Druso?
No, I'm good. I've read it. I'm ready to roll.
Great.
Thank you.
Councilmember Nguyen? Right, great. So with that, I move, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Carter, you want to make sure we have a quorum? Oh, we do have to do public comment first before we vote on anything. I'm so sorry, y'all. A little rusty up here. Do we have public comment? We have 2 public comments. Andrew's going to take the seat and read.
First comment is from Patrice Jefferson, who is not a paid representative. And this is on the update on complete streets. I think it will be great access to the area to extend the bike path to the larger neutral ground that heads to General de Gaulle and Holiday. A bike path will be safer than what is already put down. Plus a walking path can also be added, make the people in the area healthier, add value to the homes, and an improvement to the community. The second comment is by Dawn Castillo, not a paid representative. This is on the ordinance that is authorized in the CEA. I vote no. Bicyclists do not follow the laws. They ride against traffic, in and out of traffic in any way that suits them. They run red lights and look at the driver as if they are wrong. Bicycles should be required to be registered, carry insurance, and follow the law, or be ticketed just like motor vehicles. I've sent videos in the past to council members showing bicyclists running lights. While I can understand the want for these, but unless they follow the rules, they are a hazard.
Great, thank you so much. I do want to comment on the first public comment. I have absolutely been in contact with the Army Corps of Engineers. As our residents of Algiers know, we're experiencing a wonderful SELA project along General de Gaulle. When I met with them, I have requested that we start trying to figure a way of doing a bike path and walking path once that SELA project is completed along General de Gaulle. I was very clear that that's what they did on Napoleon and Uptown after that project was completed. I know it was a different funding source, but I do agree with the public comment that I think it would be a really great asset to Algiers. So with that, and then with the second public comment, I think we're all in absolute agreement that bike riders must follow the exact same laws that are on the books as do our vehicular traffic. And that is why all of us are spending a significant amount of time making sure that there's training. My office has also done a fundraiser for our police and purchased bicycles for our police in the 4th district. So again, it makes it a better system for enforcing bike laws when our police officers are also on bikes. So with that, I'd like to turn it back over. Any other comments? I think we'd like to vote. Okay, do we have a motion to move the CEA to approve the CEA, and then we'll, I guess, and also bring it to council agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Giarrusso.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Nguyen. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Great. So thank you all so much, and hopefully this will get us another step closer to getting more our blue bikes back on the streets of New Orleans.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Okay, with that, our agenda, I don't think we have any other matters. Council members, do you have any other matters? No? Then I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Giarrusso,
Second.
by Councilmember Nguyen. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Thank you all so much, and we will see you next meeting.